Do you want to be healthier, yet you just don't know what to do? All these shows telling you this and that, but nothing seems to work. Well, listen close. Golden State Media Concepts has got something great for you. The Health and Wellness Podcast dedicated to workout trends, healthy eating habits, diet, and everything about healthy living. Join us in our banters as we help you not just live life to the fullest, but live it to the healthiest.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Golden State Media Concepts Health and Wellness Podcast. I'm your host, Pauline, and this episode today, at least for the beginning half, I'm going to try to dedicate this episode to surviving the winter cold. And I know that I've already done one that was surviving the winter chill, whatever. But this is a little bit different because right now, all over the country, it's freezing. And even here in California, last weekend, it was rainy and things like that. And in the morning, when I go outside to my car, it's all like frosty and stuff. And like, if you live on the East Coast or like I don't know, like in Alaska and you're listening to this, whatever, it's, you guys are probably like, in Washington, even some places in California too. You're probably laughing at me and saying like, really, you have frost on your windows or it's a little bit foggy outside. There's snow everywhere. And so, but if you live in the snow, that's what you expect, right? because you moved there. So I'm just kidding, but I'm not, but I am, but I'm not. So if you live, whether you live, here in California or like in Southern California and it's not like it gets cold, but it doesn't really get below like 40, or you are in New England where you guys would love for it to be 40 degrees outside. I don't know. I've never spent a winter in New England, but I know that you guys get a lot of snow and that you have to like thaw out like your pipes and deal with like your pavement, like scraping the snow off your driveway so you can get your car out of the way. You guys' flights get delayed because of the snow, just all of that. So, which it's cool. No problem. You guys get to have a white Christmas and get to be all bundled up and drink hot chocolate all the time. So, but these are some tips to help you and some things to make things easier because it's winter time. We can't avoid it unless you're like in Florida or Southern California, whatever. It's cold and that's just what we have to deal with. But there's some things that we can do to make it a little bit more bearable. And there's things and ways to help common ailments that happen to us during the winter time. Now, the first thing, which is probably my biggest problem that I have to deal with, especially in the winter time, but actually for me, it's all year round. So, I don't know. If you guys know me, then you probably have seen me deal with this problem. And if you don't know me, then this is just a problem that I have that you guys, this is like a sneak peek into my real life. Anyways, so one thing that I have to deal with and now is dry skin, but especially for me is really dry, cracked, and chapped lips, right? And then because it's so cold outside and it's, the air is more dry, and like the wind and everything, especially during the winter time, it's really windy and that can affect your skin and affect your lips, especially in your face and you're just dry. And then with me, I, I'll, it sounds kind of weird, but it's what I do. I'll lick my lips and then the wind will start blowing and then they're more dry. Then I'll lick them some more. And if you have little kids, then, like when they get that red, like chapped ring around their mouth. Now, I haven't had that problem in a very long time because I've kind of controlled myself to not get to that point, but I could get to that point because they're always so dry. So these are some things that kind of help with that, especially with dry skin. Now, my personal favorite is when you do like a simple lip scrub. Now, you can make a lip scrub at home, and the one that I do when I do make my home lip scrubs, you can buy them just at Ulta. You can buy them at Sephora. You can buy them, I'm sure, at Target, is like little lip scrubs. Now, you can just do one with honey and sugar if you would like. And you just like slough off. You want to moisten your lips, and you want to do this at home, like in the bathroom or in the kitchen. Like you just don't want to do this while you're outside chilling, watching football or anything like this. You got to do this at home, and you want to wash your hands, of course. And that's probably the number one rule throughout the entire year, but especially during the winter time, is washing your hands. Just wash your hands all the time. Even if you think your hands are clean, they're really not. So just try it again. Wash it whenever you're near some water. Wash your hands. But is that you can, okay, so you moisten your lips, and you can make this like kind of like paste with the honey, and you can add in like some drops of olive oil or coconut oil as well, whatever you're into. I'm more of a coconut person, a coconut oil person. And then you can add a little bit of sugar. You mix it all together with your finger. You can just do it like in a shallow dish or a shallow bowl, and you just lightly rub in circular motions. You can do your top lip first, followed by your bottom lip. It's the same idea and the same trick. And you can even do this too, which is fine, is when you're brushing your teeth, using your toothbrush to kind of brush off the dry skin on top, the dryness of your lips. Okay. And then you want to rinse off. And if you buy like a product through Sephora, Ulta, or Walmart, wherever, that's already like a pre-made lip scrub. Now, you don't want to use a body scrub on your lips, okay? Because those granules are a lot bigger and a lot thicker, and you have to be very gentle. Even when using body scrubs, you need to be very gentle, because if your skin is sensitive, you don't want to irritate your skin more, and you risk actually, you can actually use body scrubs so aggressively that it will not only get rid of the top dry layer of your skin, but you can like scratch yourself and you can irritate your skin. It can lead to redness as well as inflammation. So that's that piece on body scrub. But so you don't want to use that on your lips, because the skin on your lips is very, very delicate already. And if you have really, really chapped lips, even if you're using a lip scrub or you're doing like a homemade lip scrub, and you can like find these on Etsy or Pinterest and things like that, because I go on Pinterest for everything. So you can go on Pinterest, look up lip scrubs. They have a bunch of different recipes for lip scrubs. You can add essential oils. People like add essential oils and all that kind of fun stuff. But, you know, you just need the basics. That's what I use. It's just the basics. And like I said, so you're going to do a circular motion, but don't be too aggressive, because your skin is probably already sensitive because it's really dry. And then your lips, then you rinse off, but you want to make sure that you follow up with the moisturizer right away. Now, you can be like me and just be au naturel and just use coconut oil on top of your lips, or almond oil if you have it, whatever kind of oils that you use to moisturize your body. Or you can use Vaseline has like their lip therapy lip gloss. It's like in a little jar. It's like in a little small little tub. That one's really, really good as well. Or if you, again, bought something from Sephora or Ulta, just follow the instructions, put it over your lips. I like to do this. You could do this in the morning or at night, but you could do this. I like to do it at night so I can like really slather on the coconut oil over my lips, and that I can just kind of like rest. Now, some people will say like, oh, you could put saran wrap over your lips so it really deeply penetrates your lips. But honestly, I don't know. I feel like that's a hazard, and I feel like you'll stop breathing. And then what if it's just too messy? And I mean, but if that's really what you're into and you're having kind of like a at-home spa day, treatment day, try it. Just be very careful that you remember not to cover your nose and that you need to breathe. Okay. So, that's one trick to help with your dry and chapped lips. And then I also wanted to get into what to do when you have really dry, chapped, and cracked even skin, which I know can be very, very sore, and it can happen on your hands, your feet. It can just happen any place over your body that is exposed to the elements. Now, it could just be that, number one, you need to consume and drink more water, that you're just really dehydrated. And that, because when we are dehydrated and we're not consuming a lot of water, it truly affects every part of our body, the inside, outside, up, down, everything. It affects it. And so my first suggestion, if you are experiencing really dry skin, is to drink a lot more water. But because of the weather and because it's so cold outside, and like I said, with a lot of the wind and just exposure to some harsher elements during this time, there's more that you may need than just water. So I'm going to share some just some tips and some things that will help you as well deal with some chapped skin during this time. Or maybe your baby's going to school and running around at recess, and you know, when you're running outside and the wind is blowing and you're sweaty and all of that, and just, it's a lot going on. So keep it locked here. I got to cut it to a quick break, but when I come back, I want to discuss some tips and ways to help you relieve some of that irritation from chapped skin, as well as some help in avoiding getting sick. And I know that everybody is always trying to make sure during this time that we don't get sick, but it happens to the best of us. And so keep it locked here. You are listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Health and Wellness Podcast. I will be right back.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's GSMCpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
Hey, what's up, everyone, and welcome back to the Golden State Media Concepts Health and Wellness Podcast. Now, I wanted to wrap up this portion discussing how to relieve dry skin, like ailments of dry skin, and just from the weather, especially during the cold times. Now, I think that people, at least for me, I spend a lot more time being vigilant about moisturizing my body and taking care of my skin during the summertime. But there are other problems that we have to deal with when the weather changes and it's cold. And like I said, so one of those things are chapped and dry skin. Now, of course, the first thing that I'm always going to suggest is drinking more water, and that helps with just everything. And it helps. And I mean, I know I'm repeating myself, but it helps inside and outside, and it helps our skin to stay hydrated. It helps to our body to regenerate cells and to just to constantly keep every system in our body running smoothly, which in turn helps us look better, and it helps our skin, it helps our hair, our just everything from head to toe. And we can definitely dive into more of that at a later time. And if you've been listening to the podcast, we have had different episodes where we have discussed water, and water is always brought up in, I want to say, almost every episode, if not most of them. 90% of our episodes, and we did dedicate an episode to diving into the benefits of water and in a previous episode, so you can definitely listen to that again on gsmcpodcast.com or any of the outlets, iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, and Stitcher. But anyway, so back to dealing with chapped skin. Now, the first thing is that you have to treat your chapped and dry skin very gently. Okay, I think a lot of people want to slather on different lotions. They want to just, you got to kind of treat it as a problem. You want to be more delicate. You want to be safer. You want to avoid certain things so that you can help relieve some of that irritation. Now, one thing would be that I would suggest is to stop using fragrant lotions and oils, unless it's like something that you've made and it's a natural essential oil. You really want to avoid fragrances, because fragrances can irritate the skin already. And if you are experiencing chapped areas where your skin is inflamed, or perhaps you have some sores due to the dry skin, depending on your severity, you don't want to use fragrant ointments, gels, lotions, soaps even, okay? Because soap, you're washing your entire body with that soap. You are putting that fragrance in contact with your cracked skin. And so that's my very first thing. And now sometimes it could be that you're having a flare up or you're having more irritation because of a fragrant product that you're putting on your skin. So it could just be that you need to eliminate that right away as well. Another thing to help you is the use of hydrocortisone cream. Now, the reason why I suggest this is because it is an anti-inflammatory. So if your skin, and sometimes we don't even realize that our skin or certain areas are inflamed, and we don't realize that they are swollen, but they are. A lot of times the surrounding area of your skin, if not that localized site, will be inflamed. Hydrocortisone cream will also reduce redness and any irritation or itching that you may have in that area due to the dryness, because sometimes when your skin is really dry and tight, it gets itchy and you scratch it. You just want to help relieve some and like topically instantly relieve some of that pain that you're dealing with and that irritation. It's just uncomfortable, and so that will definitely help. And it, depending on the severity and how large of an area your exposed and chapped skin is, you may actually need to go to a dermatologist. Now, if it's just a small area, like perhaps your hands are really dry because of all the constant washing that you're doing, because maybe you work outside and your hands just get more dry during the winter time, then, you may, I would suggest to you just always constantly having you can have like little travel lotions in your car, in your purse, in your backpack, whatever it may be, in your pocket, even, so that you can constantly rub oils and lotion on your hand. You may even need like a really thick cream. Okay. But depending on the severity, you may actually need to go to a dermatologist and see a doctor that can, especially if it's cracked and open, like if your skin is now almost like a wound to where it's open and exposed, you don't want to risk it. You don't want to risk infection, especially during this time when people are sneezing and people are coughing all around us. That is leading to the potential for different bacteria that live and thrive throughout our air, and that can just infect your open and exposed vulnerable areas, as well as just different bacteria, because you're just exposed. So dirt can get in there. You can just, more things are touching it. It's just more vulnerable to things when your skin is cracked or when your skin is open and exposed. And if you have a wound that needs to be covered. And so, of course, keeping that localized, that site closed and covered with garments, or if you need to, with gauze and a bandage, and go to the dermatologist. It's okay. And if you aren't quite sure the severity, just going to the dermatologist to have them check it out and give you some antibiotics if need be, depending on the severity, then that's okay too. And it just keeps you safe, and it keeps you as a safeguard. But then again, you don't want to use any fragrant soap. You want to avoid using hot water, because hot water can dry you out. So, and it's one of those things, because we want to wash our hands a lot during this time, because it is, germ season, but you don't want to use scalding hot water that can dry your skin, and you don't want to use fragrant soaps. And so, and if you have to, depending on what, you may just not be able to avoid using hot water. You may be a chef where you're always using hot water in the kitchen, or whatever it may be. Just having, again, that small travel size of lotion so you can quickly rub it on your hands and things like that. But not using hot water when we're showering, very, very hot water, because, again, you want to be really gentle with your skin and you want to kind of baby it during this time. And then some ointments that I would suggest would be like Aquaphor. Now, Aquaphor is always suggested. It's highly recommended for dry, like your whole body. Okay, you can use it on your hands, your feet, your ankles, your entire body. It's non-fragrant. It is pretty thick. So if you're putting it on your body, just be aware of that. It's not going to quickly absorb, but it's not really greasy either. So you can deal with it. Okay. And so just don't worry about that. Again, you want to avoid using really harsh scrubs. And if you are a person that likes to exfoliate your skin, and you use like retinoids and retinols, like Retin-A, you just want to be very gentle and sparing with using those kind of topical creams. If you're using it on your face, then maybe you might reduce it. And of course, if you are on a doctor prescribed regimen with any of these things, or any like glycolic acid, any ointments, treatments, products that contain any glycolic acid, because what that is that it's thinning your skin, and your skin is already dry, and it could be causing more irritation and flare-ups as well. So if you are on a doctor prescribed regimen, of course, never stop doing what your doctor has told you to do, but then feel free to ask them and to express your concerns and let them know, during this time I'm going according to your directions, but I'm also experiencing these kind of side effects because I'm always outside. Do you have any suggestions on how to avoid that? Do you have any suggestions? Perhaps it may mean reducing the frequency of using the product. If you use it every day, then it may be every other day or twice a week. It may be just at night before you go to sleep rather than in the morning. There's different ways to kind of continue using what it is that you're doing, but to make it a little bit safer, especially during the winter months. But of course, always check with your dermatologist, your doctor first before changing something like that. Okay. And just babying your skin during this time. If it feels dry, putting lotion on. If it feels like, and if you are using fragrant lotions and you're not having that big of a deal, but then again, you have to kind of remember that a lot of times fragrant lotions and ointments are their main purpose is for that fragrance. Okay. It's to help make your skin, and it may moisturize your skin a little bit, but I've always noticed that when I use a lot of Bath and Body Works products, and now nothing against Bath and Body Works, because I love Bath and Body Works and I love scents, like especially body washes that smell really good. I love that. And so nothing against them, but a lot of times it's mostly for that fragrant effect. It's not really and they may market it to say that it will help relieve dry skin and things like that, but their main focus is the fragrance part. Okay, so you want to keep that in mind, and you want to use a body wash or lotions that are now Jergens, as well as certain brands. Nivea, they have different things. Dove, there's a lot of different brands out there, and even some brands that are not big name brands, such as those that I've just mentioned, can target and help you with dealing with dry skin that actually will moisturize and deeply penetrate your skin and moisturize your skin. And I have a friend who doesn't like certain lotion because she feels greasy after putting it on. I totally get that. So then maybe sometimes that thicker lotion or that thicker oil and ointment, you may want to put on yourself at nighttime, or when you know that you're going outside because you're going skiing or you're going snowboarding or you're going to be hiking or just outside a lot too, and it's really windy that day. So just as an added layer of protection for your skin, you just I know that we don't want to be greasy, but then we don't want our skin dry and taking the chance of cracking and splitting and being tied and flaking and things like that. So I guess you got to kind of decide what you got to kind of pick your battles, I guess, when it comes to this. Do you want to moisturize your skin, or do you not want to be greasy? And I'm not saying not to use fragrant lotions, but what I'm saying is that in those certain areas of your skin, those patchy areas, those dry areas of your skin, you may need to use something a little bit more geared toward moisture and geared toward penetrating your skin to help with that dryness. And so that is that for that piece. And when I come back from this quick break, I want to share some tips and things on how to, again, kind of avoid getting sick, because this time, especially during the holidays, we don't want to get sick, and it's freezing outside, and you don't want to feel miserable during this time, and you just want to be happy. It's the happiest time of the year. So keep it locked here. You are listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Health and Wellness Podcast. I will be right back.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA, from the UFC to extreme cage fighting. They got the fights covered. Check out the GSMC MMA podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit gsmcpodcast.com for more info.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Golden State Media Concepts Health and Wellness Podcast. Now, I know we are getting ready to wrap up this episode, but I just wanted to leave you guys with a few tips on how to kind of, again, some added measures to avoid getting sick. Now, these are just things that are more of the... Now, we've talked about in previous episodes about building up our immune system and things like that, and vitamins, but this is these kind of tips are... well, my first tip is, of course, to continue with that healthy diet and to continue having those probiotics and taking your vitamins and making sure that you are consuming a lot of fruits and vegetables during this time, because we need a lot of those vitamins, and we need to make sure that we are giving our body the nutrients that it needs in order to fight off against bacteria. Okay, and so that is always the main thing, is water and good nutrition. It helps with everything. It helps on the inside. It helps on the outside. And it helps when we are trying to avoid getting sick, because, and again, this is in a previous episode, so you can definitely go back and find out more information when I dive a little bit deeper into this. But you want to make sure that our bodies are prepared. We're on defense right now. We're not in the offense. We are on defense against all the bacteria, the germs, the viruses, just everything that's out there, especially during this time of the year. And so we want to make sure that we are geared and ready, so that, because you're going to be exposed to the germs, you're going to be exposed to the bacteria, you're going to be exposed. If you take the subway, somebody's going to be coughing. If you're on a flight, somebody's going to be coughing, sneezing, picking their nose. I'm sorry. It's just life. It's gross. It's nasty. We tell people not to do that. And we always say cough into your elbow. We say if you're sick, wearing the little face masks when you are around a lot of people on public transportation. But does everybody do it? No. And some people, they'll sneeze into their hand and then they'll grab the doorknob. And so we are going to be exposed to these germs. And even if you stay at home, you work at home, you live at home, it's just you at home, okay, you might not be exposed to as much, but if you open up the window, if you think that you're clean and so you just don't regularly wash your hands and you're preparing food, there's bacteria in food, there's bacteria on vegetables, and even if you grow your own vegetables outside. Now, some people don't wash their vegetables that they grow from outside, but you still at least should rinse them off, okay? But then you're risking that the neighborhood cat didn't walk through your garden. I'm just saying. I'm not saying that you are not trying your best, but there's no way to fully avoid, unless you're being quarantined. I don't really think that there's a way, even at the hospital, even at the hospital. So whatever. Anyways, so first things first, when trying to avoid getting sick, you want to make sure that you realize that you're on defense, and that you need to work from the inside out. So continually eating healthy, and especially during this time, I don't know, but I just feel like I eat a lot more during this time, and I feel like I'm always hungry, and maybe it's because I'm inside more, so I'm bored and there's just really nothing to do. So I really have to be careful with that, but making sure that when you're snacking, if you are going to snack, that it's good snacks, that it's foods that are going to make sure that you get a lot of nutrients and vitamins so that you can fight off against the bacteria that you're being exposed to. The second thing is making sure that you're still exercising or just getting your heart rate up, and that you are even if it's honestly just going for a walk or walking on the treadmill, biking, whatever it may be, taking laps at lunchtime around your office building, around your neighborhood, walking back and forth to get the mail. Things like that. You want to make sure that you're getting your heart rate up and that you are making sure that your body is continually working. People always say, one of those common comments that are always made in quotes that people will say is sweating out your cold. Not quite sure. I've never done a sweat out cold experiment, so I'm not going to say that that is true or not true, but it does help you feel better. You sweat a lot. Your endorphins are going. a lot of times if you are stuffy, you may get a runny nose because you're so hot and you're running and you're trying to breathe. So that'll help you to eliminate some of that mucus as well. And I mean, it's as I'm telling you guys this, I'm kind of grossing myself out, but it's true. It happens to the best of us. And so making sure that we are still exercising, even if it's just brisk walks throughout the week, to get your heart rate up a little bit and to get your body warm so that your body can stay healthy. Again, this is another thing, just to stay healthy, and that regular exercise can reduce your chances of getting a cold. Okay. And then my ultimate favorite step, which is almost basically second nature to me, especially when I am at work, is disinfecting everything. Those little Clorox wipes, I love them. Okay. And you can even get like little Clorox wipes in packages, kind of like, you know how Wipies are. So you can take that if you don't want to take that huge little canister of Clorox wipes with you, but you can just get the little Wipies and things like that. I think Purell also makes wipes as well as Lysol. There's a lot of different brands out there that you can just get from like at Walmart or Target that will be really good for disinfecting. And you got to think about everything that people are touching. So, because people are always thinking about disinfecting doorknobs, disinfecting your bathroom, but you also want to remember your kitchen sink. Yes, of course, the doorknobs, the trash can. If you work and you're answering phones, whether you are sharing that phone, like if you work the front desk and other people also use the front desk phone or the keyboards, you want to wipe everything down. And it's nothing against them. And I might have even shared this with you guys, but at one of the places that I was working, every time that I would sit down at the front desk, before I would start anything, I would clock in. And then my next step would be wiping everything down, wiping the mouse down, wiping the telephone down, wiping the keyboard down, even wiping I had to use like a printer, wiping the printer down, wiping the counter in front of me and everything down, the seat. And it had nothing to do with my coworkers. It had everything to do with me and just making sure that everything was clean, because you are using these devices, you're using these electronics all day long, and other people are touching them as well. Your cell phone is dirty. Even if you're the only person that uses your cell phone, think about it. We hold the cell phone in our hand all day long as we're texting and making phone calls. Then we put it down at a restaurant counter. We put it down on a restaurant table. Then we take it, some of us take it to the bathroom with us, dirty, okay? And then we take it into the car, like I said. You're taking it to juniors basketball practice and you're putting it down. While you're at football practice, you're putting it down on the bleachers. Your phone touches everything. It's probably, I don't know, don't quote me on this, but I feel like our phones touch just as many things as our physical fingers and hands do. And so there's a lot of germs just collecting on your phone. And so that's another thing that I think that you should definitely think about and consider regularly disinfecting, even if it's your own personal phone, as well as changing your kitchen sponge, changing and washing your kitchen rags, the towels that we use, hand towels, bath towels, all of those things are breeding grounds for bacteria and germs. So you want to make sure that you are constantly keeping things clean. If things are wet, you want to hang them so that they can dry thoroughly. You don't want to keep things like piled, like wet items piled, using, especially when you use your washer and dryer, making sure everything is dry right out of as soon as it's done in the washer, throwing in the dryer right away so that it can dry out and everything through the dryer. You just want to make sure that things are as clean as possible. You want to wash things out thoroughly. You want to replace things as often as you can. Your toothbrush, okay, you want to change your toothbrush. Use a new toothbrush now that it's winter time. And if you get cold, this is a trick that I learned, I think from one of my mom's friends. Might have been my mom. I don't know exactly where I heard this, but is making sure to replace your toothbrush like when you have a cold and when you don't have a cold, because there's bacteria even on your toothbrush. I don't care how many times you go to the dentist, your mouth is full of germs. All right. So those are just some things to keep in mind. And that's going to actually do it for this episode of the podcast. You have been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Health and Wellness Podcast. I'm your host, Pauline. You can listen to this episode, any of my past episodes, as well as my future episodes on the network website. That's gsmcpodcast.com, as well as on iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, and Stitcher. Stay safe, stay healthy, and wipe everything down.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Health and Wellness Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.